It's time for the final word in sports all across the state. You're listening to Sports Talk with your hosts, Phil Kornbluth, Will Pelagic, and the Professor Tom Hayes. You've been waiting all day, so join the show now by calling 800-956-7266.
I know they're really athletic. I think they defend exceptionally well. They rebound really well, take care of the ball pretty good, which are all signs of competitive, well-coached teams. So obviously they've won 28 games. That's hard to do in college basketball with the parity we have to win that many games. So we'll have a challenge.
I like to draw. I think my first time I ever experienced the NCAA tournament was Winthrop, and we played Tennessee in the Greensboro Coliseum. And we lost at the buzzer. Chris Lofton made a three falling out of bounds. And so, I guess it's good karma. Hopefully, we can go and prepare and have a good opportunity to play successfully.
And good evening, everybody, and welcome into Sports Talk South Carolina Radio Network on a Monday night as we head into the big dance tomorrow night. The little dance, too, the NIT, but the big dance begins tomorrow night and heads towards Thursday and Friday. And, of course, the Clemson Tigers and the College of Charleston Cougars representing the state of South Carolina out in San Diego on Friday night. Look forward to bringing all the coverage to you here on Sports Talk throughout the week, hearing from the coaches, talking about the brackets, looking ahead to what this tournament has in our future. Because at this time last year, we had South Carolina in the tournament, and we thought, okay, it's nice. South Carolina going in and going to go to Greenville and play in the Greenville first two rounds. You got North Carolina in there. You got Duke in there. Marquette, Arkansas was there. Great collection of teams. No way South Carolina's going to get out of Greenville. Okay, they might beat Marquette in the first round, but Duke probably in round two, not going to get past Duke. Well, we know what happened. Then they go to Madison Square Garden, and they've got Baylor, and they've got Florida to deal with. And, of course, Baylor had been number one in the country at one point. Took care of them on a Friday night. Then it was, of course, the mighty Gators on Sunday. And no way South Carolina was going to beat Florida and get to the Final Four. And, of course, they did. I say all this, guys, by saying as we sit here on the precipice of another March Madness run through the tournament, don't discount anybody.
No.
Anything can happen except your 16 seeds. Though some guy wrote that Penn is maybe the best 16 seed in history. I don't know what that means.
Probably the smartest, I would say.
Last time I remember covering Penn in the NCAA tournament was 1971 when a guy named Corky Calhoun beat the Gamecocks.
And Dave Wohl.
And Dave Wohl, yeah. Yeah, that was the John Roach-led team that finally won an ACC championship. They get to the NCAA tournament. They play Penn.
Phil Hankinson.
And get beat in the first round. But good to have Will back with us from New York. The pro is here. Brian Leonard is. So my point is, as Clemson prepares to go west and Charleston prepares to go west, who's going to discount their chances? Because we kept, at least me, I kept discounting South Carolina last year, and they kept fooling me.
It's odd. The way this tournament goes, it's all about matchups. It's all about, how your team is playing going in. And the thing about Clemson is that through at least their first game, I don't know if you count the Auburn game, but all that they have to go through in the ACC tournament, your conference tournament prepares you well for what you go through in the NCAA tournament. Now, I know they only played 2 games, but they probably played better against Virginia than I think they got credit for. I know that 9.5-minute stretch that they had in that game was something that was hard to stomach, and it looked kind of like a little deja vu. But give them credit for the way they played in the second half, and also give them credit for doing something that, my God, we had been asking Brad Brownell to do all season. They finally made a concerted effort to go to Elijah Thomas in the post, and he was dominant. The only thing that kept him out of that game was foul trouble, and while that's something that they don't necessarily have a control over because of the fact that Elijah Thomas does get called for a lot of fouls inside, showing that you can do that when the shots aren't falling for the perimeter guys, that gives Clemson a changeup pitch to go to if that situation ends up repeating itself in the tournament.
And also driving the baseline against Virginia's defense, because they'll allow that all day. They want to suck you into the middle is what they want to do. And if I'm Elijah Thomas, when you lean inside to take a shot, just fall down like you've been shot to get a call.
Or stick your hip out like
Grayson Allen,
a Duke player, likes to do, or in this case, his entire butt.
Oh, yeah. Well,
so I saw that. I saw that up close and personal because that was the game after Clemson.
His butt up and close and personal.
No, I saw that play that you're talking about, and people were trying to tell me that was a terrible call. What?
Oh, Brian's just making a face.
I'm just saying it's like
no, it was not a terrible call.
It was
terrible. Ejected.
It was terrible for anybody who thought it wasn't.
With his history,
terrible call.
With his history, I mean, come on. It was a dirty play.
It was terrible.
He should have been ejected. At least given a they ended up giving him a flagrant one.
Yes, they did.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, there's no call for that. There's no call for that in a game like that.
But Clemson is getting good guard play now. And they incorporate Thomas in. And let's face it, we know the story. When you feed a big man, that guy plays on both ends of the court. Feed him early, you have a defensive monster on the other side of the court, and Clemson can do some damage. And you're right, it's about matchups. The worst matchup in hindsight that Duke had last year was South Carolina's big backcourt. They couldn't deal with the physicality, especially of Dwayne Notice.
And they were terrible on defense, too.
Yeah, exactly.
And I like the matchup that College Charleston gets in the opening round against Auburn, especially without Anthony McLemore and Auburn down to about 7 or 8 scholarship players.
They're struggling a little bit going down the stretch. Now, this New Mexico State team, they won the WAC championship. They are a team with a big backcourt, a long backcourt. Mm-hmm. They defend the three extremely well. Teams are only shooting 31% behind the line against New Mexico State. And they're good defensively. They only give up 63 points per game, outscoring opponents by about 12. And so you talk about matchups, and you're exactly right. Sometimes you fall into, even though you're the higher seed and Clemson's a 5 and New Mexico State's a 12, the matchup doesn't work in your favor. And if New Mexico State's perimeter defense is as good as it is made out to be, then this could be a quite a test for Clemson. Their guards are going to have to be on their game. This might be a game where you feed the post, where you go inside more. Maybe you change your offense up. Well, you don't change what you did to get there, but you do have to look at some adjustments to try and attack the weaker part of their defense, which might be on the interior.
And they've got skins on the wall. I mean, they beat Colorado State, they've beaten Davidson, they've beaten Miami inside the league. They lost to Southern Cal in a neutral site contest, but they've got the ability. And like you said, they don't necessarily turn the ball over offensively, but they're 6th in the country in effective field goal percentage. Like you said, they turn teams over and they make people work for their baskets. And so this could be a very similar game like the Virginia game. And the one part about this is that the game that favors Clemson is a game that doesn't include defense. Not that Clemson doesn't play very good defense on their own, but when they're matched up with a defensive squad like a Virginia or even like a New Mexico State, like say, they tend to force things offensively, and that is something that's playing right into the hands of their opponent.
All right, now we do have our Sports Talk Bracket 2018 up in the ESPN Bracket Challenge. So go ahead and get your bracket in. Nothing to pay, nothing to win. This is all about pride and ego here on Sports Talk. We live off of pride and ego, not coin. Okay, maybe we can get you some Bitcoin down the road if you happen to win.
Get some of Joe Mowgli as Bitcoin,
not Bitcoins, but 2 bits.
But what you want to do, of course, is test your knowledge against probably the 3 superior sports brains in the state sitting here at this table. So it's your chance to test yourself against the 3 of us.
We got to get the people who we got on our football picks also to get their input as well on that.
Yeah, we'll reach out to them. I have not put mine in yet. I see you've got yours in.
I have mine in, but it is subject to change without notice.
Well, I mean, you got to lock it in at some point.
Yeah.
We can't have a floating bracket here where, like, Thursday night you decide to make some changes.
No. It locks when the tournament starts.
I know this. 800-956-7266. What do you think about the bracket? Clemson, Charleston, and don't forget Wofford is in the CIT.
College Insiders tournament.
Be right back.
Sports Talk is the sports talk show of Main Street, South Carolina. From the coast to the mountains, we cover it all.
I did not bring you back any bagels either. Sorry.
I'm not surprised.
It wouldn't have made it, honestly.
That's what I'm expecting. I would imagine they'd have been eaten on the plane on the way back.
Sorry.
Phone number 800-956-7266. Our emails talkback@sportstalksc.com and on Twitter @SportsTalkSC. Of course, this is the week of the NCAA basketball tournament. We've got Clemson and Charleston involved out in San Diego. The Cougars playing in the 7 o'clock game, more or less, 7 o'clock, and the Tigers to follow out there. What arena are they playing in San Diego? They're playing
at San Diego State Viejas Arena, San Diego State.
Nice, big arena?
No. It's like a very small, intimate gathering.
I wonder why they chose that arena for an NCAA. Usually the minimum seating capacity for is about 15 or 18,000.
I think it's less than that.
Because next year it comes
12,414.
That's it, huh?
Yeah.
Of course, next year it comes to Columbia, right? Isn't Columbia 2019? That will be cool. That'll be really cool. Of course, we've had it in Greenville in the past. Now it's going to come to Columbia and back to Greenville in a couple of years. So that's really cool. We'll have it in our backyard.
South Carolina would not be able to play in their home campus.
No. But Clemson could.
Clemson very well could.
Yeah, and will Clemson be back next year? South Carolina had its run last year. It sort of peaked. The program sort of hit a peak under Frank Martin last year and then settled back this year and missed everything. Now Clemson has kind of peaked here with the guys who will be back as they currently stand. I mean, I can't foresee any of the underclassmen opting out early.
No.
You get Thomas back. You get he's back. Mitchell's back.
Yep. Donnell's gone.
Donnell is gone, but isn't the other one back? The other transfer?
Scar's back.
Scar's back. Yeah. And you got you lose Grantham, of course, but Sims is coming on. I think he's going to be a very fine player.
I like AJ Oliver. I like what we saw from him this week.
He came out of nowhere.
Clyde.
Are they going to continue to expand his role?
I think so. And I like Clyde Trapp too. He could possibly play a bigger role. I'm surprised he didn't get any time this past week. I don't know what the deal was with that, but they've got pieces. That's the one thing that they do. They've got pieces, and they have pieces that Brad Brownell is confident in.
All right, let me update a few things. We're going to hear from Brad Brownell, Earl Grants here on the program tonight. Also a little baseball. Monty Lee, the Tigers are red hot, and USC had a perfect week as well last week. We'll hear some from Mark Kingston. Dabo Sweeney, we should hear from him later on. The Tigers are practicing today. And we've also got some comments from USC offensive guard Zach Bailey we want to get to. NCAA tournament odds from Bovada and Clemson going into the tournament, 150-1 to win the championship in a group with Miami, Rhode Island, Texas A&M, and TCU. The favorite, Villanova, 6-1. Virginia is 13-2. Duke is 8-1, and Kansas is 10-1. As for Charleston, if you put some money down on the Cougars, it's 1,000-1. As far as the Midwest Regional is concerned, where Clemson is located, the Tigers are in that particular region 15-1. And as for Charleston, in their region, their odds on winning would be, as soon as I can pull it up here, pretty long, I would say. Here we go, 90-1 to win the Midwest Regional as well. So Clemson's 15-1, and Charleston is 90-1.
Got to get past the mythical birds of Kansas.
Yeah, always looming large there. The basketball polls this week, Clemson in the AP ranking, the final one of the season. Tigers finish at number 20. And in the coaches ranking, the Tigers are ranked number 18. They actually, the coaches moved them up 2 spots from 20 to 18. So they must have liked what they saw in New York.
Get to the semifinals of the ACC tournament. It's not to sneeze at.
True that. Oh, by the way, going back to the odds, the Masters odds from Bovada also out. And how about Tiger yesterday? Was that not exciting?
It looked like vintage Tiger.
It did. It did. How about that putt on 17?
You're showing it right now.
You know, the perfect pace. No, he made that putt on 17.
Yeah.
But just that was 18.
Now.
That was where he had a chance to tie, and he couldn't make the putt on 18. But on 17, just the perfect pace, and the ball just right in the heart of the cup. Dustin Johnson right now is the 8-1 favorite. Tiger has gone from 80-1 to 9-1.
Sounds about right.
Man, if you had put some money down on him when it was 80-1, you'd be feeling pretty good right now. Justin Thomas is 10-1, Jordan Spieth 11-1, and Phil Mickelson is 14-1. All right, a few other things of importance. Tony Morrell, the big Spur, wrote this morning that USC defensive analyst Ellis Johnson is not expected to stay on after his contract expires in April.
People going crazy about that on our Twitter.
He has been with Will Muschamp, since he became head coach at USC. Because we tweeted out last week, and I forgot to mention this on Friday. We tweeted out last week that Brad Lawing was in, and people are trying to watch practice the other day, and people trying to put two and two together. I have reached out to Brad a few times. He's responded to me. I haven't asked him anything directly, but he's just sort of like, what are you talking about? There's nothing going on here. I'm just sort of trying to put two and two together as others are as well. It would make perfectly good sense because Brad's without a job. He has a home in Columbia still. And if he had to take a behind-the-scenes role as an analyst, then this would be a good opportunity. And he and Muschamp have history together.
Well, it seems that coaches nowadays, when they get to the point in their careers where they may want to press the pavement to recruit a lot, you need that, and I mean this in sincerest form, you need that Yoda standing over the program that looks at little things that can tell you, that can make the difference between winning and losing.
Yeah, well, pardon me for someone who always rushes to try to make a mountain out of a molehill. Ellis Johnson leaving the program, if you put Brad in there, I mean, I'm not going to say it's going to make a monumental change, I don't think.
Well, I think Ellis is what Pro was talking about. He is that Yoda. Wise old mind that Muschamp could lean on to break down an opponent's offense for him and have that stuff ready to go.
Isn't that what you have coordinators for?
Well, no, look.
I'm just saying.
All these programs now have these analysts, have these guys who aren't coaching on the field, but they're doing the work behind the scenes. They're breaking down the film. They're very integral to the success of these big-time programs now. I think Brad would be, unless he finds an on-the-field position somewhere, and if this is something he wants, he'd be the perfect guy to step in and replace him.
Far be it for me to have impending and unending faith in Will Muschamp, but I guarantee you he probably has somebody in line for that position, and I trust him.
Yeah,
but you see,
which is hard for me to say.
And it could be Brad.
It could be
because they work together.
Fine.
He had Brad with him at Florida.
I have no problem with that.
And in the Southeastern Conference, let's face it, one of the toughest positions, if not the toughest position to coach, and you better have some good ones, is the defensive line.
I would say offensive line too.
And but Brad Lawing is sort of a guru at coaching defensive linemen.
And his players always swear by him.
I love
and
that.
At him.
That's fine by me.
USC will have its pro timing day at Williams-Brice a week from tomorrow. It will be open to the public, the part at Williams-Brice Stadium at approximately 9:45. That will be, let's see. Yeah, that will be the part that will be open to the public. So make your plans accordingly if you want to go to that. Baseball rankings this week. And Clemson doing extremely well in the polls. Second by Collegiate Baseball, fifth by Baseball America, ninth by the coaches, 10th by D1. Coastal Carolina's 30th by Collegiate Baseball. Oregon State seems to be now the consensus #1 team in the country. USC baseball on Wednesday, game time against my alma mater, Harvard.
Right.
Has been moved up.
Right.
Has been moved up to 4 o'clock.
Right.
Right what?
Uh-huh.
And
I don't think Harvard College Latta campus has a baseball team. I don't think they sponsor baseball.
Wofford is in the CIT, gets a first-round bye, along with Northern Colorado, Portland State, Sam Houston State.
And we are awaiting the women's basketball selection for the USC women as well.
Comes out tonight a little bit after 7 o'clock. Of course, we know the USC women will host first 2 games, first 2 rounds.
More than likely, yes.
I would think so, yeah.
More than likely.
Colonial Life Arena. and that'll be coming down the pike a little bit after 7 o'clock, and we'll be right back. Okay, we're back. Sports Talk South Carolina Radio Network. 800-956-7266 is our phone number. We come to you from downtown Columbia.
I feel like it's been forever since I've been in this studio.
Yeah, it leaves you with that feeling when you're on the road, like you were for practically the entire week. Enjoyed having you up there. It's great stuff.
You enjoyed not having me here is what you're trying to say. It's okay. You could say it.
Brian, did you ever hear me say anything while he was gone that I was happy he was gone? Brian never heard that.
You enjoyed having the ability to mute my mic whenever you wanted to. Let's be real. Let's be real.
I cannot tell a lie.
I chopped down the cherry tree.
I cannot tell a lie.
He chopped down the cherry tree.
You know, it was powerful to kind of give Brian the signal to, 800-956-7266. Email talkback at sportstalksc.com, on Twitter at SportsTalkSC. Our poll question of the week on our website, sportstalksc.com, is how far do you think Clemson will go in the NCAA tournament? First, second, Sweet 16, Elite 8, Final Four. And let's see, so far, most people say the Tigers will get to the second round. That's about 43%. 25% are saying first round. Another 25% say Sweet 16. 5%. They've got 5 votes for the Final Four.
I hate to put you on the spot, but how did our last week poll get resolved with the neutral site deal?
That's a good question. Let me pull it up here. Give me a couple of minutes and I can find that.
Neutral site for Clemson.
Yeah, I think it was mostly – you had some people writing in for the neutral site poll being at Clemson or Columbia.
Oh, really?
They missed the entire point of it being a neutral site.
Columbia could have a neutral site in air quotes with Spirit Communications Park, but that is, again, not very neutral.
Yeah, I don't think that's what people were looking for. The majority of the votes, 31.5% came in for Charleston.
We're big in Charleston, that's why.
24.5% came in for Myrtle Beach. I'd vote for either of those. North Augusta got third most. No, I'm sorry, take that back. Greenville got third most with 16%, just a little more than North Augusta. 2 more votes than North
Augusta is intriguing from the standpoint of newness, but logistically it would be pretty difficult. It's not a real easy thoroughfare between Clemson, Columbia, and North Augusta.
Well, there's back roads you can go from North Augusta up to Clemson. Kind of cut that down.
Is that really what you want to do, though?
So you're not used to back roads in New York. You're used to, 4 and 6 and 8 lane expressways. We live on the back roads.
There's no
here
easy
in South Carolina.
I've been on back roads in upstate New York trying to get to Cooperstown. There's no direct way to get there. Let's put it that way.
All right. Clemson headed to the tournament. Congratulations for the second time under Brad Brown. Now, if I remember correctly, the first time they had to go through the first 4, right?
Yes, they did.
And they won. A couple of days later, they turned around and played, and they got beat. But I'm sure it was an exciting time for them yesterday. They knew they were going to be in. And by the way, the selection show sucked. It sucked. End of story. Sucked. Capital S. Tear up the format. Throw it away.
The bracket was out.
Get back to having a little bit of drama. Get back to having some people in there with the knowledge of the college game. Look, TBS does a great job with their NBA studio show. It's one of the best sports shows on television. Their post-game show with Kenny and Charles and Shaq and Ernie, fantastic. We'll swear by it to the death. College, no. No. They're pro guys being forced into doing college stuff, and we know that they spend the weekend before, and I'm probably shortchanging them some here, but that
they spend about a couple of weeks. According to what Charles Barkley said, he did an interview. He said, I've been watching college basketball games for the last 2 months, is what he said.
Woo.
Is what he said.
Well, I'd rather have
that's basically the conference seasons for all the teams.
I'd rather have any of the guys who live and breathe college basketball versus the pro guys.
I like the fact that the whole bracket was completely revealed by 6:37.
Oh, you would, because you're a millennial. You got the attention span of what's smaller than a gnat? A no-see-em? A no-see-em.
A
no-see-em down in Savannah.
No, I don't know what that is.
A Savannah sand gnat. That's your attention span. About the
former employee at the Savannah Sand Gnats over here, by the way.
What did Brad have to say?
He had a lot to say about not only New Mexico State, but also some nice things to say for one of his former assistants who was in his pod, Earl Grant.
Certainly excited about what's next. Really, as much as anything, just really proud of our players and what they've accomplished this season. And obviously what that's afforded us is more basketball. And thought we played well last weekend up in Brooklyn. Ran into a very good team in Virginia. Couldn't quite overcome their size and defense. I thought they just played really well. But I thought our guys got better. I thought we played very well in the win against Boston College, and thought we competed hard against Virginia. Now we've got more games to play. New Mexico State team, I don't know a lot about them, but just looking at some quick stats, and I did see a couple minutes of their game when they beat Miami out in Hawaii over Christmas tournament. So I know they're really athletic. I think they defend exceptionally well. They rebound really well, take care of the ball pretty good, which is all signs of competitive, well-coached teams. So obviously they've won 28 games. That's hard to do in college basketball with the parity we have to win that many games. So we'll have a challenge, but we're looking forward to it. It's going to be an interesting trip. It's kind of nice going to a great place, San Diego, and also kind of neat that Earl Grant's team's going to be out there. So we're excited to see those guys.
You mentioned Earl Grant. What's the sense of pride you have in now?
Yeah. No, there definitely is some pride there. I obviously still keep in touch and follow all my assistants and, root for them like crazy every time they have a game. And couldn't be more proud of Earl and what he's done with that program in the last 4 years. He's just done a terrific job. Not a surprise to me. He's got really good players and he's got great leadership. He knows what he wants to do, and he's got that team playing great basketball. Our staff was following every CAA tournament game and talking about it the next day and watching as much as we could at night. And, just very rewarding to see him, so happy. And, it's going to be fun to be out there with those guys.
You ever been to San Diego State, to no, Viejas Arena or any of that?
I've been to San Diego, but I've never been to the arena or played there.
That 5-12 matchup has been a notorious position there. How do you guard against an upset-minded team like New Mexico State?
I really don't. If it happens every year, then it's really not that big of an upset, right? I just think there are so many good teams, so many good players. They already beat Miami in our league. Miami's a top 20 program. So I think a lot of made of all that is just if you win a mid-major league, you're going to be seeded 12th or 13th if you're really good. It's just what it is. A lot of those mid-major teams would come into our league and do very well. So I don't think my guys probably don't know about that. I don't think it's anything to really worry about. You just got to go play great. You can't not play well and win in these games.
28-5, New Mexico State, by the way, coming out of the WAC, right around their projected record. So it's something that obviously you look at. Ken Pom has them losing by 5 to Clemson, which is an interesting situation there at 68-63. Exactly the kind of game I think that Clemson would probably have trouble with. But obviously at this point, you make no apologies, survive in advance.
Yeah, your low-scoring game, you wonder in the past that would work to Clemson's favor, but this is more of a high-powered Clemson team now. They like to score. They don't like to walk it up and down the floor and play it close to the vest. First-year coach at New Mexico State, Chris, is it pronounced Jans? Not Jans. Chris Jans. Not a bad start for him in his career, 25-5. The Aggies and the Aztecs of New Mexico.
Aggies. You keep saying Aztecs.
No, I said the Aggies and the Aztecs of New Mexico. See, if I could complete a sentence,
you could do that.
You could hear the complete sentence. Okay. You'd understand what I was saying.
Wow.
Let's try it again. The Aggies and the Aztecs of New Mexico. That's a basketball crazy state.
Yes.
It really is.
Well, Mexico's the Lobos, for the record.
Yeah, the Lobos.
Aztecs is San Diego State.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I got that wrong.
Yeah, because you kept on saying Aztecs. I'm like, it's not Aztecs, it's Lobos.
And of course,
no, you were correcting me on Aggies.
A lot of those years are under
because I called New Mexico State the Aztecs earlier.
They're actually the Aggies, and New Mexico is the Lobos.
Right.
Yes.
But we're playing in San Diego,
in the home of the Aztecs. I'm sorry.
Now back to Sports Talk, South Carolina's most listened to sports talk show for more than 30 years.
All right, welcome back into Sports Talk, everybody. South Carolina Radio Network here on a Monday night. Check out foundersfcu.com. Learn how they can assist you in all of your financial needs. College of Charleston for the first time since '99. Going back to the dance, what a great job Earl Grant has done. And I'm not just singling out this year. He has brought that program along in his 3 years as the head coach of the Cougars. It's a proud program that was built under John Kresh, used to winning conference championships and then getting into March and getting into the tournament and doing some special things and making some of the big boys really sweat out there in the NCAA tournament. So the question now, Will, is can this Cougar team taking on Auburn out in San Diego do the same thing, maybe be a surprise? You know, for most of the time leading into it, I believe they were listed at about a 14 seed, ended up going in as what, a 13 seed?
13, yeah.
So, you know, that people were impressed by what they did in winning the CAA and moving them up the seed line there a little bit, but they got a tough job, even though Auburn is a bit handicapped because of injuries and a short roster. I mean, they still are a talented basketball team.
Yeah, they are. And the thing about it is you look at the way that they run their team now, and they've kind of had to, like you said, get a little bit of get very creative just because they don't have the size that they used to. So this is something that they've tried to run a little bit more. They don't have Anthony McLemore anymore. They've had to rely on guys like Okiki, and they've had to rely also on Bryce Brown heavily, and even Mustafa Heron. So this is a much different team than even South Carolina beat in its first competition against them, and then obviously the team that ended up beating them for the shared SEC title. They didn't have a good week in St. Louis, just put it to be honestly there. So from that perspective, College of Charleston will be, I don't want to say having Auburn ripe for the picking, but it's an upset certain. I don't want to say it's an upset certainty, but it's certainly for them, I think, a favorable draw, as favorable a draw as you could have expected on that 13 line.
All right, Earl Grant, of course, excited, as all the Cougars are, about, of course, they knew they were going in by winning the tournament. Just to see your name up there, though, even though you knew you were in, and to see where you were being placed and your opponent is always exciting. Here are some of his comments following the selection show yesterday. Earl Grant talking about being back in the tournament.
Well, I mean, obviously, we got some older guys, some seniors, and so certainly these are your last games. And so we talked about it 2 weeks ago, but I thought this team was built to win in March, and now we're in a situation where we're in the tournament, we're in the big dance, and we got a chance to advance. So I'm really, really excited about that.
Auburn, what do you?
Great coach, good team. They had a really good year. I like to draw. I think my first time I ever experienced the NCAA tournament was Winthrop, and we played Tennessee in the Greensboro Coliseum, and we lost at the buzzer. Chris Lofton made a three falling out of bounds, and so I guess it's good karma. Hopefully, we can go and prepare and have a good opportunity to play successfely.
I know they say you never look ahead in the bracket, but how do you not knowing that Brad Brownell could be next?
I mean, it doesn't make a lot of sense. It doesn't make a lot of sense. I really wanted to avoid Wichita State. I've spoken to Greg Marshall so much in the last 2 weeks. The last thing I want to do is try to play him now. And so, with Brad, the same thing. We talked a lot about preparing for these moments. And, but I hope we play him. I hope we can advance and have a chance to play him in the second round.
You said you guys felt you were built well for the NCAA tournament. How so? What do you mean?
Well, I mean, we battle tested. We got some experience. We old. We got some size. We got a little depth. We got some toughness. We've been able to win on the road. We've been win on neutral courts. I just think we built to win, and I think this team has some destiny in it. So again, we just got to come out with a great game plan and try to put our best foot forward.
When Auburn was here, did you get a chance to look at them at all in any of those games that they played?
Yeah, I watched them a good bit because I know some of their players. I recruited some of their players. And so I know a lot of their personnel, watched them a good bit. And so it's interesting. It's just an interesting situation to be in. I'm really excited about it, and I hope our guys are excited as well.
Do you like going to San Diego, or do you think that there's probably a few more distractions in San Diego than there would be in Wichita?
Well, I mean, we've been to Wichita this year. I hate it for our fans. Charlotte would have been great for our fans, but I think a lot of my players hadn't traveled to the West Coast before. And I think that'll be a neat experience for them. Certainly, we're happy we're in the NCAA tournament. We didn't care where we would be playing. But I think San Diego is a good place for us. Again, good karma. The time we won a game in the NCAA tournament, I was at Winthrop. We beat Notre Dame and Spokane. So the West Coast has been good. And we had Teddy Valentine, so hopefully he'll show up at the game.
Do you feel like you guys have seen enough in the CAA to prepare you different types of teams to get you ready for this?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've seen enough. You know, every game this time of year is going to be hard. I mean, all these teams are very, very good. Either they won the regular season championship or they won the conference tournament. They're just good teams, you know, and every game is going to be a challenge. We just got to come up with a great plan and put our best foot forward.
All right, Earl Grant, congratulations to him. And yes, you know, the committee, I'm sure besides matching up the teams as best as possible, they look for other side stories as well. And, you know, they looked at that bracket and saw, okay, look, if Charleston pulls off the upset and Clemson wins, we're going to have a head coach facing one of his former assistants. That makes for a great side story. 2 South Carolina teams going up against each other, even though it's way out in San Diego. They look for those kind of things to add a little spice to the tournament.
And, of course, the guard play, Shealy and Riller. They've got the power in that backcourt to pull off an upset. Does the College of Charleston, and they have the big bull from Columbia, Brantley, still there. He's about 260, 6'7". You got a space eater and a couple of good guards. Let's go to the tournament.
It mentioned somebody who they thought would be in the tournament, maybe helping them out, who was a Low Country native, but he has been shut out of that tournament, Corn. Mr. Ted Valentine.
Yes, indeed. What's the story?
Basically, you remember that whole little situation that happened between him and Joe Barry in North Carolina? Well, Teddy V told ESPN that because of the fallout of that situation, they have left him out of the pool of officials that will work the NCAA tournament.
Hard to believe. Hard to believe. The most recognized official in college basketball.
And they said, it's not right. It's not fair. It hit me like a ton of bricks. I'm being punished unjustly, he told ESPN. We saw him working during the ACC semifinal against between Duke and North Carolina. We saw him earlier in that tournament as well. He also worked the AAC final as well. So it's
why would you first of all, he's already been punished once for that incident. Number two, why would you allow him to work major tournament games in the leagues and then shut him out of the NCAA here at the last moment?
Don't know.
That's weird. That is very weird. So as you look at the bracket, guys, anything really jump out at you? I think a lot of people were bemoaning the fact that Syracuse got in.
Yes.
Even though they got to play in the first 4.
Oklahoma State in over Oklahoma didn't make much sense to me. But I know that they want to see Trae Young play. That's a.
You mean the other way around? Oklahoma in over Oklahoma State.
No, that's what I meant. I'm saying Oklahoma in over Oklahoma State. I would have rather seen Oklahoma State play.
Yeah. The key point is Oklahoma State has beaten West Virginia at West Virginia.
They won a lot of big time games.
And you beat
Kansas as well.
He
twice.
Mike Boynton is the first coach in the Big 12 to beat Bill Self both times during the regular season. No other coach has done that, and they don't get in the tournament.
Now, as far as coaching jobs are concerned, of course, there are 2 open right now in the SEC, Ole Miss and Georgia. And reports are that Kermit Davis from Middle Tennessee is Ole Miss bound.
Could be.
He is a very good coach. He's done an excellent job at Middle Tennessee. Was one of those who got beat in his tournament and thus got left out of the NCAA tournament and dropped into the NIT. And that might have been one that bumped South Carolina, or it could have been UC Irvine losing in their tournament.
And then North Carolina Central upsetting Hampton. So Hampton dropped in the MEAC championship.
And they all get automatic spots to the NIT if you're a regular season champ.
Davidson winning also could have knocked them down also further peg.
Well, they said last night Davidson was the one that got Notre Dame knocked out of the NCAA.
I'm just saying that just has a domino effect, moves everybody else down a peg as well.
And now Georgia firing Mark Fox over the weekend.
I don't understand that, by the way.
9 years, how many tournaments?
2.
Well, it all depends on the expectations you have for your program.
You're at Georgia.
Yeah, but people will say Georgia is a state rich in talent, and he has had good players in this program.
Yeah, but Georgia, the point is, I think what catches you is when a guy like the guard at Alabama gets out of Georgia and goes to Alabama instead of your state school. Then you start to freak out. We saw that years ago when Laterio Green left the state and went out of state.
Speaking of Alabama, I mean, I know they caught fire a little bit in the SEC tournament, but 15 losses.
Star power. See, they're going for star power now.
And they got all the way to the semifinals, too.
15 losses, man.
That's a lot.